Welcome to the Lady Nighthawk Show, where we talk about important topics and we have people that come on and do music and poetry, and they cook from home and bring their wonderful food for us to taste. That's what we used to do before COVID, okay? So now we think it's more important that we also had the veterans that was here as a group at one time, that they've been around for long, and even during COVID, Donald was helping us at the studio when they could come in, but we couldn't. You know, he's been here forever, okay? So, you know, at that point, because so many things that are happening, that we try to give you as much current information about different things as we can, because we think that is important, because everybody's not watching television because it causes them to have mental distress, you know, it causes them to have you know, anxiety, you know, not just with the children, but the adults as well. But I'm gonna stop right now and let my co-host introduce himself.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for having me back on the show. My name is Donald Bell. I'm an attorney here in Maryland. I'm here in Prince George's County. My office is here in Prince George's County. I'm over in Greenbelt, Maryland, right here in the county. And I'm so happy to be here with you this evening. And
we're so happy that you're here because you just came from a conference for lawyers, attorneys, and man, I was praying for you, okay, because I know that you said you were stuck one day, right, for a layover, and then I said, I saw on the news the third day talk about all these people not being able to get out and get in place. I said, oh, don't want to tell me no. So then that's why I sent another note yesterday just to make sure. So how was that experience, though?
Well, I went to Las Vegas, the National Bar Association, which is the largest bar association for African-American lawyers, had their 99th annual conference, and it was in Las Vegas. So went there for a week. The conference is a week. I am the chair of the bankruptcy law section. So I mean, there was business that had to be conducted, as well as seminars that we presented on an array of issues. And so it's lawyers from throughout the country, black lawyers. We get together, lawyers, judges, people in the legal profession. We get together and, you know, we network and we train, and, you know, we just have a good time together, because for many black lawyers throughout the country, you know, unlike in this area, many of them are somewhat isolated. You know, they may be one of few. So you go places like Missouri or Kansas, or, you know, places in the Midwest or even out west. So, you know, it's our time to get together, network, you know, learn, take continuing legal education courses. And, you know, we also talk about civil rights, and you know, we just have like various trainings on, you know, what direction, you know, we want to take our bar and we want to take the country. And also, coincidentally, the NAACP had their national convention there in Vegas, and I think President Biden was there. And so members from the National Bar Association were invited over to see him speak.
Wow.
I think that was on Wednesday of last week. And
then right after that, he gave that big brand new news. While y'all was away as well, during that week.
Well, the first news was immediately after his speech, he caught COVID.
Yeah.
So the people, I didn't go to see the speech because typically when the president speaks, they lock the place down. So you got to get in early,
right? And
you can't leave.
That's right.
They lock it down.
That's right.
So I think he was speaking, you know, at 1 o'clock local time, which was Pacific time out there. You had to be there by 10, and you were going to be stuck at that place until, you know, after he left. So it was going to be an all-day event. So I didn't go.
I understand, because I was going to get tickets to go to the White House for the 4th of July.
Oh, you were telling me about that, the fireworks.
And and I said, oh no, that's right, because you get locked down, and you can only take so much stuff in with you. You have to take a blanket, you know, you have to carry very light, and you're in there for almost 5 hours, okay? Because you're there before the fireworks get started, and then, you know, you still got to wait for people to when the fireworks start, and then you got to wait for people to try to get them out of there, you know. And I said, oh no, not this year.
Yeah.
Because if it's too hot, I'm not. But I told you that if I can, if you ever want to go, let me know. You said once your child got older.
Yeah, once she's a little bit older.
Yeah, and then it depends on who is in the administration at the time,
Yeah.
on what you know what I can do. But I'll let you know.
But I think that's the big news you were alluding to, not necessarily the president contacting COVID, but you know the president agreeing to, well, the president announcing that he was going to not accept the nomination and run for president again.
And it was 2 times that week that it was 2 big announcements that came out that I had to kind of keep underneath my hat. And it was like, you know, because later on I found out I had invited the mayor here to speak. And he said he was going to come. And then all of a sudden we were having problems with getting an appointment date, right? And then finally, they said, well, okay, we're going to tell you this why, but you can't tell nobody, okay?
So you're going to tell everybody here?
No, well, everybody knows now.
Okay.
So he's running for the city council county executive.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And that's a special election against Allison Alsabrook. And that is...
so he's running against Ms. Alsabrooks? Who's running for...
She's running for the Senate, I thought.
She's running for the Senate?
Yeah, he's not running for the Senate. He's running for... They sitting there on the same ticket, like she's running for the Senate, and he's running for the city council at large.
Okay.
Okay, for the main board. Okay.
For Bowie or
for PG County.
Okay.
Okay, so that position became
vacant. So a county commissioner, or?
No, it's called the same thing as what over here that we have is called the city, but here's it's the county.
Okay.
That's the only difference. It's an at-large seat for the county.
Okay.
For Bowie, it would be the city seat at large.
I understand.
Okay, for Bowie.
Okay.
Okay, but he's actually running for the county, and that election is August the 6th that they're having.
That's next week.
Yes. And so it was a very short thing. And I was just wondering, because I saw him twice. I was at the city council meetings. He said, yeah, just, you know, let the person know.
He probably didn't want to let everybody know until...
No, he couldn't. And then I couldn't have had him on the show if he was running for office. Because we discussed that. I said, now, you're not running for office. I said that to him. I said, so you're not running for office, I can have you come on the show. He said, no, I'm not running for office. So, yeah, you can have me on the show. I guess he thought we were going to get him in here sooner than later.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then after I found that out, I could not have him on the show. Okay. And so I have to wait now for him to come on to the show, whether he is going to be the PG County executive member at large for PG County, or whether or not he'll retain his seat. If he retains his seat, the election's over if he can come. Okay. But that's just a rule that they have at the station. That if you're running during an election season, you know, you can't have the candidate to come on because then it looks like you're showing favoritism. But him and Allison Alsabrook is the first black woman that's running for the Senate seat. So they're running on, when I say ticket, you know, the same.
They're running on that Democratic ticket.
Democratic ticket. And so, which is great news that they hear on television the other night, that because I was invited to go on that Zoom call that they had with all those quadrillion people that donated money to her within 24 hours.
Who's this, Ms. Alsabrooks?
No, we're talking about Kamala Harris, Vice President.
Okay.
And by the time I got the invite, because I had so much stuff going on in my life right now, I couldn't get on. They had too many people. And then I found out on the news the next night that they had called and asked Zoom if they could expand the amount of people that could come onto the call. But I guess, you know, by the time I got it, it was cut off. They said, so I have to wait. But that's exciting because, you know, I try to do my community service, you know, as much as I can. So I think that with the two of them, they've been friends for a long time. They reported this on the news, so I'm not telling you nothing you haven't already heard, okay?
Well, this is the news.
Yes, that's right.
So you are a news, you are reporting?
I'm a reporter, but I heard it from another reporter station, okay? I have to say that. You got to give them credit. I got to give them credit, okay? That they said they've been saying that they've been friends for a long time and they support each other. And so, you know, it's good. One thing that they've been sending out pictures of.
So we have 2 black women that are running for some of the
seats.
highest positions that our country have. You have a black woman and Kamala Harris running for president. And then you have Ms. Elsa Brooks, who is running for the Senate seat. There's never been a black woman who's
held that seat.
And there's never been a black woman who's been president of the United States. So I guess it's a historic time.
It is, and you just gave news too.
Yeah.
That was on our news here. I know you were in Las Vegas, but that was on our news here as well. And so it's an organization that's called Women of Color, and then Women of Worship, that actually supported her telethon that she got. And then reporting from another news station that she has, so far as they see, that she has enough votes, right, to actually, during the Democratic National Convention, that she has enough votes to actually to take on that responsibility as running for the next president of the United States.
There was a thought at the conference. I mean, when, you know, like
I said all that to come back and ask you about what happened when y'all heard that news at the conference.
Well, there was a thought at the conference that this has sort of been in the works for a little while. That this had probably been in the works, and you know, I don't know that this isn't a fact, but I'm just telling you like what some people are thinking, that maybe that this had been in the works for a little while after the first debate between President Biden and former President Trump, that maybe this had been in the works, and maybe President Biden and Vice President Harris were sort of working the back channel to kind of consolidate her support in the Democratic Party. So once President Biden decided, you know, announced that he was not going to run, that, you know, most of the support would go to her, you know, to try to not have like sort of a fractured party.
Right.
Because there were other people who were probably looking to run as well. But, you know, soon after she announced, it was announced that, you know, within a couple of hours, she probably had enough delegates to win the nomination.
And she raised over $1 million in 24 hours.
No, 100 million.
100 million, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 100 million. Thank you for, from another news source, 100 million. Thank you.
Yeah, because initially it came out as 81 million.
Yes.
And then
the next day.
But the next day it was like over 100 million.
Yes, yes.
So, wow.
Yes, it was. Thank you for correcting me on that point.
I think it was like the largest amount that had been raised in a
24-hour period.
In a 24-hour period in the history of you know, of people running for elections.
And especially at the last minute.
Yeah. Well, she has some ground to make up, but I think there is enthusiasm for people who felt somewhat disenfranchised because you had 2 older gentlemen that were running. So you have younger people, you have people who probably didn't feel like their views were being properly represented. I mean, there is some enthusiasm from some of those people who feel like, hey, this person may give me a voice. So I don't know, because we really haven't heard her total platform.
And we also have to wait till we get to the convention to see really what happens. Because there's some gentleman that has out there on a website, and this is before all this happened, that he has out there on a website that even though they're allowing, the DNC was allowing Biden to run, but at the nomination, this guy shows this gentleman that they were going to nominate I'm not going to say the name, okay? But that they were going to announce that they were going to have that gentleman run as the president of the United States. It was going to be a big surprise to the nation, okay? So I'm quite sure, just like I saw it, because it was on one of those energy, did you get emergency alerts? And they tell you little topics that you should look at. They tell you what the weather is, and then they tell you what food is bad, and then they tell you what's going on. You don't get those emergency alerts?
No.
Oh man, you ought to get the emergency alerts.
Okay.
So the emergency alert had this thing that caught my attention for one of the topics, and this gentleman says, oh, everybody's going to be in a big surprise when we get to the convention for the Democrats, National Committee because this is the person they're going to nominate. Now, I know that there's going to be a big old to-do now because they probably were not. And I'm going to see whether or not they pulled that down. Because I'm wondering whether or not, if in fact, since the current events have happened, whether or not they're just going to take that off the table. Okay.
Well, I mean, you know, at the convention, I mean, technically, I mean, other candidates can be nominated. But the way that these conventions are sort of run at this point in time, you know, I think from what I've read, they're going to have a vote prior to the convention.
Mm-hmm.
The Democratic National Committee is going to have a vote prior to the convention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to probably try to iron out all of that because they're going to want to show a united front.
Right.
You know, so I'm not saying that it can't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't believe that there's going to be another significant candidate that's going to challenge her at the convention,
Mm-hmm.
because I think, number one, the Democratic National Committee is going to get together prior to the convention,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to sort of iron out, and I think the delegates are going to already be pledged.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I think it's just going to be just a matter of
The formality.
it's going to be a formality,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be more or less a introduction
Mm-hmm.
to
the
country.
candidate. And to the
Introduction to the country
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, this is who Kamala Harris is.
Right.
This is what her platform is, and coincidentally, this is who her running mate is going to be. So it's going to be an introduction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to be like maybe because at the previous convention it was about President Biden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is who he is. This is who his family is, and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this convention, that's probably what you're going to see. You're going to see who is this woman.
But they
Who is
introduced
her
her as well. They introduced.
But I'm just saying, it's going to be more or less.
VP. Yeah.
But it's going to be really focused on her,
As the president.
her background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, really think they're going to try to highlight her background as a prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And
because
she's doing that too.
well, I mean, but
I don't blame her.
but it provides, it shows strength.
Yes.
You know, it shows that, you know, she's somebody who's who is tough on crime. That's something that Democrats often, you know, don't get credit for, being
Right.
tough on crime.
Right.
And, you know, they're going to talk about her family. They're going to talk about her background,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and whatnot. That's what I think that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
look,
going to be an introduction to it because America really doesn't know her.
Right.
You
They
know?
don't. They don't. And you know, we
And
talked
people
about this before.
They got to be comfortable. People got to feel comfortable with you. That's the thing about being president. People got to feel comfortable about you. They got to be willing to, like, invite you into their home and sit on their couch, or, you know, maybe go down to the local watering hole and have a beer with you or something. That's what people got to, you know, sort of feel in order to want to vote for you.
But we had talked about that they needed to show her more during the
Yeah.
course of her term as what she's doing for vice president. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I
think
saw
we
that.
talked about that off of camera, though.
Yeah. No, one time we actually
Oh, we
mentioned
talked
it
about it
on
on camera?
camera
Okay.
what I felt that they didn't give her enough play on like they do other vice presidents, you know, on where they are and what they're doing. They weren't
Yeah.
giving her enough, you know, because it looked like she's sitting there twiddling thumbs, and I know she wasn't doing that, you
Yeah.
know. So now she does have to, because of that, she has to now let people know what I've done since I was the vice president of the United States,
Well, I think they're
and what
going
I
to
can do
focus
now.
on. I think they're going to focus on what she did before she was vice
Oh
president.
yeah, I know they're going back further than that.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to play a lot better as to what she did prior to being vice president, because I think that's going to be.
Because people know that
Well, I think that's going to be
about her.
Former President Trump's Achilles heel.
Well,
You
here's
know,
the
because
thing.
because you know, he has this conviction.
Yes.
You know, he has a problem with the truth
Yeah.
and whatnot. So,
And he's a convicted felon. Come on now. That's not only that.
So there's going to be this contrast that's going to be out there.
And that's not fiction. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world knows that he's
So
a
I think
convicted felon.
I think that's what this Democratic convention is going to be about. You know, you have this person, and then you have this person. You know, who do you want to choose? Because, I mean, that's who, you know, that's who she needs to appeal to.
And I want you to remember that you heard it first from Attorney Bell, okay? What's going to happen at the flow at that convention? And I'm going to come back and I'm going to take my hat off to you and say, boy, you was right on point, okay?
Well, hopefully I'm right. That's what I'm hoping that's going to happen. You know,
But
I
it
hope
sounds
there's
like
not
it's
going to be
good.
like any infighting or anything like that. There was no infighting at the Republican National Convention.
No, because they already knew who the forerunner was. I
Yeah.
mean, they already made that pick 3 years ago because a lot of people thought he lost the election, okay? But let me say this. I watched Stephen Colbert nighttime, right?
Well, that's a little too late for me, so
Wait a
I
minute.
can't see it. So
But I watched Stephen Colbert about his first
9:30, lights is out.
I know that. I know the princess. I know.
Yeah.
And I watched his first 15 minutes of his monologue because all
Okay.
of it's like fake news, but he's always making fun of one of the presidents or the vice presidents or somebody else. And I think that one of the
Is he an
things.
equal opportunist? Does he make fun of everybody?
Yes, he makes fun of everybody.
Okay.
It depends on what the headlines are of the day on what the candidate did wrong.
Yeah.
Is who's gonna get the most. Okay.
Gotcha.
The one that he showed with President Biden, and he was at this black event, and everybody else was bouncing to the music and the stuff.
Yeah.
And the president was stiff like a rod, like,
Yeah.
where the hell am I? Okay, I mean, like no movement. You would have thought it was a snowball, a robot. And so
Well, Paula, he is almost 80 years old.
I
so-
understand, but don't say that, because everybody that's almost 80 years old, they can still move, kick the
okay.
legs, then do the rug, okay? But he has been in Congress for as long as he's been 80, okay, almost, because he was a senator forever, okay?
Yeah, he was a
so
senator. He was
he's
senator
been
for a long
he's
time.
been he's been in politics almost all his life.
Almost over 50 years. I would say.
Yes, and so that's a lot of pressure for anybody. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff to kind of departmentalize. So I don't take it from him.
Yeah.
It's just that now what they're doing is they're trying to show you the difference between him on Stephen Colbert. I can't take his thing. How much energy the vice president has, because she's always dancing and
Okay.
she's doing this and she's doing that, and she was doing it at the thing, and so then Stephen Colbert, I can't take it from him, said, now I'm gonna put away the old Joe jokes, because he had a notebook, old Joe books, and now I'm gonna bring out the new book for the old
Trump
book, okay?
Yeah.
And he said, so he started reading in it, and so then. He said, he put the book down and he said, this might have been another night, he said, now, what's so sad is that Trump doesn't have anything that he can say about her, except for calling her laughing Kamala. And he don't even know her name,
Well, it's not something that President Trump has said, but something that I found really disturbing and I really did not like. A congressman called her the DEI vice president. So DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Is that
He
right?
called her the DEI
Wow.
vice president.
Wow.
So I was like, this is, I don't like this.
Yeah, the topics that they're doing
Because
for
that's
her.
just another way of saying,
It's token.
that word that we don't like to.
Right.
That
But she's a
N-word,
token. Yes.
That N-word that
Yes,
we don't.
yeah.
I mean, so instead of saying that,
Yeah.
you use that term.
Well, I
So you
think
take
that
something that was
derogatory.
used. Well, DEI was meant to be used to be inclusive of all people. Not just black people, but women, people of other ethnicities and everything, even white women. DEI is
Inclusive.
Yeah, it means we're going to include everybody. But you're using it in a derogatory way, in a dismissive way, to somehow indicate that the reason why she is where she's at is because of some type of program that gave her preference over others. So I didn't like that. So I think what you're probably going to see, because this election is going to get really, really nasty. I mean, that's the nature of politics. So that doesn't necessarily, I mean, I can understand, people, having different viewpoints, but generally you can, if you have different viewpoints,
Be respectful.
you can be respectful, but I think that this is going to get really nasty on both sides. You follow me?
Yeah,
and
well,
you're going to start seeing things. You got to be, so pay attention to things like that, because
well, they already named her, it's called a meme, Is that what it's called?
Okay.
They call it the meme queen, okay? Because they got all these things out with her dancing and stuff and her talking and stuff. And so they said that her ratings has just gone up. She don't even have to pay for any. Once again, it came from Stephen Colbert last night. She won't even have to pay for. He didn't say this, but I'm saying this. She don't have to worry about putting her name out there because they're not derogatory kinds of memes that they're putting out there. Some of them are funny, you know, and some of them are truthful, right? One thing that he said that he did say is that, you know, the Trump won't be able to dig up no dirt on her because she's up front and based on the job that she's already had. So when he calls her Laughing Harris or Laughing, you know, whatever he calls her, right? He says that it's okay. He said, because let me show you something. So he shows a clip of her. And I forgot what the word was. I can't remember the phrase, guys. I can't remember the phrase because it was the phrase that made you laugh. But I'm going to make it up myself, okay? So I'm not taking it from Stephen Colbert, but it's the thought came from him, okay? But let's say hot chocolate is cool and laugh, right? Next moment we will be launching the nuclear weapons over so-and-so. Is that shows you how she can have, you know, humor in her life, but then she can be very serious about what it is that she's talking about. She can switch just like that, you know. And I thought that was, I didn't think it was negative. I thought it was a very positive thing because people want to say that we fickle. I'm talking about women, okay? Well, we're not. Women are, men are too, but women are some of the smartest creatures that you have on earth. And they have just as much intuitiveness as men do. Okay, so because I'm a female, it doesn't mean that I'm going to back down when I have to do my duty because I didn't back down when I was, you know, locking them up people and putting them in jail. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that was the point that he was trying to make. You know, she is a person. She's a human being. She's showing us her human side, but she's also showing her strength side. And I think that's what that was about. Well, thank you, Steve.
Well, I'm going to tell you, just as sure as I'm sitting here, this election, this campaign is going to get nasty. It's going to get, I mean, the mud is going to come up, and if they can't find anything, they'll make stuff up.
Oh, but they do that all the time, though.
So don't be upset when you see some things that come up, and you know it may not be true, or it may have a speck of truth, because that's what a lot of people do. They take a speck of truth and they wrap a whole bunch of BS around it, and then they present it to you, and they say, "You see that you see that truth right there?" And you know that's what people do.
It's almost like I feel like that everything that they say has to be fact checked. I mean, it's a shame, it's a job, but it's a job for somebody, guys, on y'all's news channels. Y'all should have everything that y'all put out there. Y'all show people on television. Y'all should have a fact checker to check it before it goes on the air. In fact, I have a director here that sometimes, that depending on what the topic is that we're talking about, during the years, because we've been here for almost 20 years now, okay? But he would actually fact check for us, okay, and let us know if we were in here trying to figure stuff out. He would fact check for us. And I think that is a good thing that you're giving people accurate information than inaccurate information, you know? So I always tell you, go back and look it up and Google it for yourself, okay? And make sure that what I said is absolutely true. And then you gotta be careful because everything that you see on Google ain't true either.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was like,
because that long time ago when it first came out, they used to have this commercial where it was this Italian guy and this lady, and she was saying that, telling her friend, "Oh, I'm going out with a French guy," if I can remember the commercial correctly, right? And then she introduced him, and he came out speaking English. You know what I mean? But it was on Google, she said, so that's why I thought he was French. But anyway, I thank you, Donald, for telling us about the experience that you had and your opinions on this. And I'm going to watch very closely, okay? All right, so we say good night.